City of Stevens Point Plan Commission meeting, recorded December 2nd, 2024.
I will call the regular meeting of the City Plan Commission meeting to order. When do you guys want to do a roll call?
Mayor Weeza.
Here.
Alderperson Kneebone.
Here.
Commissioner Artson.
Here.
Commissioner Beacom.
Here.
Commissioner Moskowiak.
Here.
Commissioner Rice.
Here.
Commissioner Schuler.
Here. Everyone is present. We will move on. Let me share this out first. I keep forgetting to do that. Alrighty. Come on. And item number 2 is the report, the meeting minutes from the November 4th meeting of the City Plan Commission. Any thoughts, comments, or a motion to accept?
I move to accept.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion at all?
Just a little bit. I read that section where we talked about change, the motion and the had to do with the household entities. And I think they covered it fairly well, and we did that. And that's the part that I read mostly, and I was good with it. So thank you.
Good.
And I guess extending. I read these things, and they're pretty well written, and they're pretty good and pretty well covered. So thank you for staff.
And I know staff appreciates that. So just so you know, and the people watching and listening, legally, the minutes are required to have the motion and the vote.
That's it.
None of the discussion items are required by law in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And some people would say, oh, well, we record all the meetings anyway, so why do we take such good minutes? Well, I like having good minutes so people 20 years from now, 30 years from now, can understand a little bit of what went on without having to watch through these very exciting and riveting edge-of-the-seat type meeting videos.
Even if there's only a 5-minute span, that's riveting.
Yeah, but I think it's
important.
important that we put some of the highlights of the discussion so people kind of have an understanding of what was talked about. So that's why we do it, which goes above and beyond what we are required to do. But staff is the one that take care of that, so yes, kudos to them.
Yeah, I support that.
Great.
Now that we've stretched out of the meeting as long as we can continue.
Fair enough. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 3 is a public hearing and a request from the City of Stevens Point to adopt the Stevens Point Historic Preservation Plan consistent with Chapter 22.06, Sub 3, Sub 2, Sub A. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. So I believe this is the 3rd time this calendar year that the conversation about this historic preservation plan has been brought before you folks for feedback. Latest time being in October, presenting the draft historic preservation plan before you. Just a quick SparkNotes version of what a historic preservation plan is. It's intended to be a long-range planning document akin to that of, say, the city's comprehensive outdoor rec plan, outlining some specific goals and objectives for targeted planning areas within the city of Stevens Point. Just a quick version of what this plan all entails. It's really broken down into 3 different sections. First, outlining more background information and existing conditions. So what's the city's existing local historic districts and landmarks, along with those on the National Register. Second section, focusing more on the planning process. So what was all the work that was done over the last 16, 18 months or so to get to this point. And then the last section, really the meat of the document, focusing on specific goals, objectives, and policies for the 8 topic areas as included in the memorandum and shown on the screen. So consistent with our local historic preservation ordinance, the Plan Commission would have to take action on this by way of a public hearing. Our Historic Preservation and Design Review Commission did hold the public hearing and recommended approval of this planning document last week, Monday. So staff's recommendation is to approve, and I also have our Historic Preservation Chair here in person as well, should there be any questions.
Great. Any questions on the report before we open the public hearing? All right. I will declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to offer testimony, please step to the lectern.
Sam Lang, 1547 Strongs Ave, also the District 9 holder. I was just going to say, this is something that I really enjoyed to read through. This has got some great information in it and some great recommendations and goals. So just to everybody that's been a part of getting this put together, thank you very much. I look forward to getting some of the recommendations that are in this implemented. And again, thanks. Again, this is a really great document. It has a lot of information in there that I found to be very exciting about what we could be doing with our historic districts, and appreciate it, guys.
Public hearing is still open. Public hearing remains open. And for the third and final time, the public hearing is open. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I will declare the public hearing closed, bring it back to the commissioners. First of all, I want to commend staff and all of those who provided input on this plan. It wasn't an easy process, and I think we've got a good product in the end. So, Commissioner Schuler.
I'd like to recommend approval of the plan, subject to a final read-through to clear up all several typos, transpositions.
We don't do typos.
Not in the version that gets to council, hopefully, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Beacom. Discussion. Yes, sir.
I also wanted to say congratulations on a great process and a great document. I love the content, I love the layout, and I love the telling of the process that you went through. I just think it's really a feather in the cap and a really great thing for the city, so thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Jeff there on that. And, you know, the opening statement saying that we could have hired a consultant to do it, we decided to do it in-house. I think you did a great job, and I'm good with the city doing things that it can do. As a consultant, I'm good with hiring consultants to do things that do better, but they
We're
did a
saving the
good job on
taxpayers' money.
this. Right.
Right. Great. Any other comments? Yes.
I would like to thank all the people that responded to the survey. As that reaches even a broader audience than often city meetings or public information meetings. And again, kudos to staff. It's really an outstanding piece of work.
It certainly is. And then once this is approved by council, this will go up on our website as well, so people can see it. It's available now, of course, through the agendas, but the final draft, sans typos and grammatical errors, will be up after council approval. All right, anything else? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 4 is our annual, why are we doing this item? It's the adoption of the Housing Affordability Report for permit year 2023. Director?
Yeah, I guess to put it generally, this is one of those items that does need to be ticked off as a requirement. It does have some value. It does offer some interesting data. However, it doesn't hold a lot of weight. So happy to answer any questions. I know Adam primarily went through this, so he'd be happy to answer any detailed questions. But otherwise, would be looking for an approval.
And really, this is just ticking a box. We have to do it in order to get grants and things like that. Something we do have to do every year. So, yes, sir.
I think it's useful. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of information here that can get used as a reference, and it may be a tedium, but I think it's good to go through and maybe offer up an opportunity for discussions on related matters.
Sure. Is that a motion?
Nope.
Mr. Schuler.
I wanted to pass along a comment I passed along to Jared and Adam, that we all realize this for kind of what it needs to be, and it would be really nice if we could somehow utilize this effort in the future to get stuff that we could really, really use on an ongoing basis, because it presents an opportunity for some really great trend line information on several topics that seem to be important. And I'm glad it's done, because I know that it is a time sink for something that is one size fits all, and it could be way more useful, but so be it that they want this. With that, I guess I will move to accept, approve.
Thank you.
Whatever the proper.
I'll second.
Seconded by Nebo. It's interesting you bring it up about useful information because Commissioner Beacom had some interesting ideas regarding housing affordability and some potential future things. Do you want to mention that, Mike, since it falls under this?
I mean, to me, data is the key piece. And so, there's a lot of numbers in here. People quote the Alice report all the time. They quote numbers in here. And data on its surface is just data. So it's not to say that anything in here is inaccurate, but I use the analogy all the time. I can give you 100 words on why Jordan Love will have a great game Thursday against the Lions. And I'll use statistics, and it'll be relevant, and it'll be current, and it will be compelling. And I'll give you 100 words on why he'll struggle against the Lions, and I'll use statistics, and they'll be relevant, it'll be compelling, and you'll believe he'll struggle. So statistics alone don't mean anything. It's what's inside the statistics. For example, you have 52% of households for rent that are above 30%. I've talked to folks at United Way, and I've asked this question here. Do you have students in that data? United Way would say, if they live off campus, yes. I would say that that's problematic. Why? It's not that students don't count, but for the history of colleges and universities, 99% of students are going to be over 30%. We know that. So that skews the data. The other thing we don't know in this data is what about choice? I think we look at this and we want to believe that the numbers that are over that 30% are single parents working 2 jobs, struggling to get by. You probably have people in there with a combined household income of $90,000 that are spending $3,000 on housing, and that puts them into the data. But that's a matter of choice. And so finding out more about what exists in this data and then allowing us to drill down to who we want to help and that grayscale level, I think would be helpful.
Okay. So the thought was putting a survey together and having commissioners formulate the questions of that survey. Since we can't talk about it this month because it's not really technically on the agenda, the affordability report is, I'd like to add an agenda item for next month to discuss a survey regarding housing affordability. And I'd ask the commissioners to start thinking about questions that you'd want to see on that. What data would you find useful in the housing affordability genre of reporting? So think about it over Christmas when you've got nothing better to do than sit and think about work. And we'll have it on the agenda for next month. So we have a motion to accept the report, and it's been seconded. Any further discussion there?
I guess another comment, we have a lot of discussion about housing here and on the Planning Commission and how to do it. And generally, I think we've been trying to acknowledge it, trying to do something, do a variety of things, and low income and single family and multifamily. And so I don't know if this is the place to discuss it, but I do think, oftentimes we talk about it on specific instances, does this apply or not? But it may be worthwhile to have a more general conversation. Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? And this may be, or your motion may be an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that might be something we could talk about next month for the survey questions and how we're going to use that data. Yes, Commissioner Schuler.
To piggyback with Pete, the housing element of the adopted comprehensive plan contains a lot of, information that was gathered at a certain point in time. But the whole point of the information was to be able to identify issues and draw conclusions, and your goals, objectives, and policies are geared toward addressing those things. And it seems to me that taking a look at that chapter itself and trying to incorporate the information from the Housing Task Force, the information from the household density study or discussion, and this that we're talking about now, and potential for soliciting additional information, it would be a great exercise, and it wouldn't take a ton of time to do, but that would be a place where that discussion would be really well served.
Okay.
Because I think people would appreciate if the comp plan chapter were up to date with the current thinking. And you can certainly update a comp plan any piece at any time. It's not an entire document, as we've learned from the neighborhood plans that are coming through, so.
That's a great idea. So maybe after we formulate the survey, get the results, we can incorporate that and have a housing summit that would focus just on housing and offer a more open discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd have a public hearing, but again, we get pretty good turnout when we have housing discussions and what to do. And, you know, if we're looking at a guiding document, I don't know if a public hearing is a way to do that or a public presentation, but I do know that housing is a topic that comes up a lot, and this is a part of it. And, you know, maybe we can get some discussions on how private we want to keep single-family housing and how important it is multifamily.
Good. All right.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the Housing Affordability Report? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 5 is a request to enter into a donation waiver agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for curb ramp replacement along State Highway 66 and US Highway 10 East. To sum it up a little bit easier, the DOT is going to go through the corridor of Highway 10 and 66 and make sure that we are better utilizing our ADA requirements and putting in curb ramps at all the curbs. They need permission from us to use city property and do work on city property. So all this is doing is just granting that permission. I think this is a great thing for the city, and the DOT is doing the work. So I, in addition to Director Badoon, would recommend approval.
And the point of this, sorry, I heard an inhale. I didn't
You can
mean
go
to-
first. You exhaled first.
Something about that there normally would be a fee paid, or?
We still have the option of charging a fee. I wouldn't, because
Okay,
this
and-
benefits the city and the citizens. Anytime there's a right-of-way access or use, we could do something like that.
But isn't the agenda item to actually waive that donation?
To waive that, yes.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't
Double
understand the
check it.
question. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So yes, that's what my inhale was about. Is this a cost to the city at all? But this is DOT spending. And we
The
just
only
gotta
cost
say-
is our time.
Right, go ahead.
So I need a motion.
Move approval?
Thank you.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's approved. Sorry, I'm slower here. Item number 6 is actually postponed. That was a request to enter into an easement agreement with Wisconsin Public Service. I had asked the director to find out some information regarding what the easement is actually required for, because they traditionally keep their work within the city right-of-way. And this is outside the right-of-way, but we didn't get a good answer in time, so we're just going to postpone action on this until next month. So we'll move right into item number 7, which is the July through September 2024 monthly reports. Director.
Yeah, I guess pretty self-explanatory. Reports for constructions, valuations, violations, July, August, and September. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
So I'm sure the commissioners are used to seeing these reports. We got a little behind with the transition. Okay, if not, I would ask for a motion to accept the reports and place them on file.
Make a motion.
Moved by Beacom, second by Schuler. Discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 8 is the last director's report of 2024. Director?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Development updates, I guess I've outlined a couple. I'll just kind of run through in case there's any questions by any of the commissioners. But update on the bid, Forest Creek subdivision, TID 14. I guess that's maybe a notable one. We do have a few administrative corrections that we need to make per the DOR. Nothing substantial, just, again, administrative corrections that would take minimal effort. We do need to have a joint board of review to approve one additional item or a change to an existing item, so pretty minimal. Shopko site, Opera House, City Hall, the Oaks on Maria Drive, and some airport development that we're looking into. So that's it for general development. Happy to take any questions if there are any. Otherwise, just as a note, I will be out of the office the 7th through the 14th of December for a pre-planned vacation.
Okay. Commissioner Schuler.
I was just wondering if there's any way to maybe expand or clarify the status of the Opera House. I guess I wasn't part of
I'll
the...
summarize that pretty quick.
Okay.
You're dealing with a 100-plus-year-old building. Every time you pull a board off, you find 2 new problems. Labor has been problematic. It's just taking a lot longer than anticipated. But I can tell you that it's also taking longer because they are doing the restoration and keeping the historic value intact. And that in and of itself takes more time than normally it would. So they've extended the developer's agreement. It was set to be done, I think the most recent version was December 1st. They're moving along. There's always progress. It's just not as fast as some of us would like. But I got to tell you, I'm in contact with the owner, and I'm really looking forward to this thing being finished. It's going to be spectacular.
That's excellent. I just, the phrase that got my interest was solidify and submit state-approved plans to the city. So based on the things they're finding and their need to kind of regroup and also figure out the people they have, the time they can take, they need to get all those ducks in a row to get the plans to state, approved by state.
Right.
to the
Yeah,
city.
so being a commercial business, and correct me if I'm out of line here, being a commercial enterprise, the plans have to get approved by the state. There are certain ones that we can do in-house, but they're relatively minor. So then those plans have to get reviewed by the state. There's usually a significant waiting period there. And then once they're approved by the state, they come back to us for approval, final approval. And again, yeah, those things take time.
Well, here's hoping their ducks can stay in a row.
Yes.
And I'd like to add in that it really ties in with the, the historic preservation plan. And you're kind of leading edge and kind of following through on what you're proposing, saying, we're not just throwing this out there, we're following it. And yeah, there are annoyances, but it's part of the process and deal with it.
It is. Yeah, and I feel compelled to remind everybody that that property was this far from getting torn down completely. It is only through a happenstance, really, that we found that support wall and realized that we didn't need to take down the entire structure because of the severe disrepair. I mean, ceiling trusses were cracked and not supporting anything. The roof was literally caving in. So anything is better than the loss, but the fact that we found a developer willing to take that project on and return it to its original historic facade is pretty remarkable. All right, I think that's it. Any other questions for the director? Then our agenda is exhausted. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays, and we are adjourned at 6:23.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.